My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, their songwriting techniques, and occasionally getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. Welcome to episode 214. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guest today is Felix Riebl. The Cat Empire frontman is releasing his third studio record today, which is titled Everyday Amen. In today's episode, we're speaking with Felix about how he juggles different projects, the mystery of songwriting, and the music of Heartbreak High. Here we go. Our guest today is a singer and songwriter from Melbourne, Australia. He's the frontman and one of the co-founders of ARIA award-winning band The Cat Empire, and today he's releasing his third studio record, which is titled Everyday Amen. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Felix Riebl. Good afternoon, sir. How are we?
Good, thanks. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time at the moment. It is a very exciting time. We are celebrating a brand new solo record from yourself entitled Everyday Amen. Firstly, congratulations on this record because it is a beautiful piece of work.
Much appreciated. I had a great time recording this one. It's very special to me.
I can imagine it does sound like, and I know that sometimes this might come across a little bit cringy or not fake, but I think that sometimes you can hear in the music when there is almost like a connection between the artist and the music that's more than just they've written this music. There's like almost visceral in the presentation, and I feel like that definitely comes across with this album.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't think that that's cheesy at all to say. I think there are some projects where you just fall into a sort of a deeper track or something like that. It just things seem to align. The musicians are very intuitive with each other. There's a good feeling in the room. There's no second guessing going on. Everyone involved in the project, and there are many who go into it to make an album, all playing to their strengths, and there's a sort of a mutual respect, but just a kind of a buoyancy that goes through it, and then when that can match the music itself and the songwriting to begin with, then you get the bones of a really enjoyable and hopefully lasting album.
100%. I think in the lead up to this record, you were quoted as saying it was one of the most free-flowing and kind of exciting experiences of your life. I'm curious how, I guess, whether the experience with the previous two solo records have been different from that, or whether it's just, finding your feet as a solo artist.
I think, let me see, where did I start? I've enjoyed all of my solo albums very much, and I guess they've grown in confidence each time. And the reason I enjoy them so much is because when we get into the studio, the musicians haven't heard the songs, but they're supremely gifted musicians, and we know each other, and we have a long standing history and friendship, touring and so on, that sort of has built a lot of trust up for it. And anyway, they come into the studio. The songs have been arranged, written by me and arranged by Rosso, and there's a really great relationship between the two of us. And then the musicians hear it, and then Danny on drums counts 4, and then you're into the first song, and there's just this feeling of like the songs happen in real time. The musicians hear them as they're performing them for the first time, and there's just a sort of a buoyancy and a freedom to that first impression that goes along with the, I guess, the integrity of, and the skill of their musicianship. And yeah, and I mean, look, I guess it's a different process to what I've experienced in projects like the Cat Empire, where often we've really sort of laboured over a sound quite hard to try and get contrasts in there, and it's a more staggered. It has been sometimes a more staggered process to get somewhere, and the result for that's it's been really exciting in its own way as well. But just from an experience point of view in the studio, these albums kind of play themselves, and you arrive every day. I think we made this whole album in about 12 or 14 days. We worked days and nights. We really didn't question ourselves in terms of, is this decision right for that one? Is that one not right? There was just a kind of momentum to it that results for me in a sort of joy, in a musical joy, because you're in the flow of something, and there's few places in the world I'd rather be when it's like that.
100%. I imagine that the musical muscle memory, if that kind of makes sense for yourself, I imagine would be quite strong. As you mentioned, people might recognise your voice as the frontman for the Cat Empire. You also keep busy with Spinifex Gum as well, and with this solo record, you're really kind of you're not leaving yourself much free time. I'm curious, with having those three projects, maybe not all going at the one time, but as you've said, going into the studio and these things just kind of free flowing, do you ever, I guess, maybe not even thinking about it, resort back to methods or tricks that you might use in one of those other projects when it comes into your own solo project, if that makes sense?
Absolutely. It's been one of the most enjoyable things about getting older as a musician, or for being here for longer, is that I stopped thinking about my solo project as this sort of separate world, and the Cat Empire is that separate world, and Spinifex Gum is that one. They have very distinct qualities about them, but it's, for instance, in Spinifex Gum, I love the process of songwriting because it's very research based. We're in a space, and there may be a story that's in the papers, or a story that's based on one of the texts I've worked with through the Injabandi community and things like that. And it's like, okay, it sort of cracks open because there's a sonic world and a sort of a bunch of production parameters that sort of points you into a space, and then stylistically you can imagine that. But then the rest of the songwriting is really research. It's hard research, and that's. You can't always write songs about your own feelings, whimsical feelings about something. Sometimes it's really great as a songwriter to say, I'm going to write about this, and make that a project. And so I can take aspects of Spinifex Gum, for instance, into a solo project and say, and take that same sort of research quality to some songs. It's not all of them. And the same with the Cat Empire. I mean, what the Cat Empire has given me overwhelmingly for songwriting is this great bunch of memories, that you can recall almost like a dream or something like that, where you go, I know what that feeling is on stage. I want to try and create something that will evoke that response in the audience, or that feeling that I had. That is more than just an emotional thing. It's kind of you mentioned visceral before. It's almost like a dream-like visceral feeling of what it's like to hear that swell or that roar or that, so there are different textures that you can draw on from within each of these projects. One of the things I love about the solo stage is that there's a sort of quiet there that I haven't experienced in other places, an intensity of listening, and so all of those things start to play into each different project, and I enjoy that about being busy. I feel like I'm always writing. I enjoy that space. I like being in that world. It's the life I've chosen, and I find it continuously interesting and thrilling to be there. So I don't really think about, this project now, and then we'll stop and then we'll do the solo project. Really, even though it sort of looks like that from the outside, it's really just a continuous mode of songwriting and creativity, and hopefully expanding boundaries musically in each of them.
100%. With what you've just said in mind, then I guess with you continually writing, do you then get I guess on the opposite end of that spectrum, do you then get like a little bit antsy if you've got, I think it's 6 years since the last, almost 6 years since the last solo record. If you're continually writing, do you then get a little bit almost like, come on guys, like I've got this material sitting here, we can put this out. Why am I waiting another 5 or 6 years?
Well, no, totally, and I think it's sort of it's ramping up. I mean, firstly, for Everyday Amen, I should say as well, it was recorded in 2018, like very quickly. 2020, January of 2020, I recorded that album, and it was, while the bushfires were kind of ravaging the southern states, and we didn't know what COVID was really yet, kind of thing. And then I didn't want to release it during COVID. It didn't feel like an album I wanted to put out during isolation. And so I guess during that time, that COVID time, I just went into hyperdrive songwriting. I think that's actually the truth of it. We were on a European tour with the Cat Empire in March in 2020 and came back. The world changed within a week, and we came back on one of the last absolutely packed flights and had to isolate for 2 weeks. And it was almost like the energy of that tour turned into a need to write songs, and I did. I was lucky enough to have a studio at the back of my place that I'd built just before then, or had built, and that turned into an absolute haven for me. And so I feel like during that whole COVID period, it's really just been a need to write songs or to be in musical projects, and I really don't mean that in a pretentious way. It's just what I do for a living and what I do for kicks, and one of the great things about music is that it gets better as you go deeper into it. It's not something that has really doesn't have an end point to it at all. It's not like you get to a certain point and that's sort of it. You can bore yourself by writing songs that are similar, but there are ways as a songwriter that you can challenge yourself and continuously try and find new spaces and interesting ideas. And so the craft of that lifestyle is something that interests me more and more.
I would 100% agree with you, hence why we are discussing songwriting on a songwriting podcast. So, yeah, I can very much recognise that love of the craft and the mystery behind some of that magic as well.
Oh, absolutely. There has to be some mystery, doesn't there? I mean, it's funny. There's a lot of, and I would say this to young songwriters, there's a lot of practicalities as well, like I was talking about research before. You can do that. You can actually say and go on purpose write and get better at that, and give the craft of songwriting the I guess the respect it deserves, to say that there are different styles and things that you can practice, as any writer or any painter would or any creative person would, I think, probably testify to. But there is a necessary mystery that goes into songs. They're such simple little buggers, but they're but they are, it's my partner Eloise is doing a PhD in through English and philosophy and theatre approaches, and it's an enormous amount of work. My best friend Miles Allison is a novelist and writes, struggles, for these novels and these things. But songwriters have to, they're just songs. They're so simple, but there's something very mysterious behind them. And when you get it right, it's a wonderful feeling, and to translate.
This summer, Instacart presents famous summer flavors coming to your front door, or pool, or hotel.
Your grocery delivery has arrived, sir.
That was faster than room service.
No violins in the lobby.
Oh, seriously? Anyway, sit back, relax, and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Starring your favorite snacks, drinks, and more. Download Instacart for free delivery on your first 3 orders. Rated H for hungry audiences. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum $10 per order. Excludes restaurants. Additional terms and fees apply.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
That to an audience later on, or even into people's walls, is something that is kind of wonderful.
100%. I love that. Felix, I was hoping that you might indulge us a little bit. I wanted to talk about one of my favorite tracks off the record. One song, I'm not sure if you're aware of the US band The War on Drugs.
Yeah, I know The War on Drugs.
I feel like Carry Your Scar off your record had some very similar guitar kind of riffs. It was very, it's a few intricate guitar parts, which I kind of loved. I was wondering whether you might indulge us and just give us a little bit of a behind the scenes or a how this song kind of came to be.
Well, I guess that musically that song probably really was thinking about the sort of music that my brother loved. My little brother died very recently, and he loved any music from 1980 to 1986. You know, that was his. That was kind of his go-to, and so we. You know, there are several. I think it's rather than sort of quoting bands in that era, it's more like there's a kind of a depth to that sound, you know, to what I associate with the 80s music that I'd listened to with my brothers was just this sort of depth of sound, you know, it's and I kind of wanted to do something with it. And the first time I wrote, you know, when I wrote that song, the chorus had the name of a person I'd met in Cuba back, you know, with the Cat Empire in 2005, I want to say, something like that, when we made an album in Havana. There was a friend of ours called Caddy Oscar there who would always say, "Hey, it's okay," like that. And I loved that, the memory of just those words, "Hey, it's okay." It's, you know, spoken by this young, very vibrant person. And so the first version of the song, which was influenced by that depth of music, but that sort of very, very early rock music, I guess, had the chorus "Caddy Oscar" in it, and and later on, you know, it was after my brother died. He had brain cancer. I sort of had heard "Carry Your Scar" in that the whole time anyway. You know, "Carry Your Scar, Carry Your Scar." So at the moment, it's almost like those two worlds kind of blending into something for me. And soon after that, I recorded "Carry Your Scar." I changed the name of the song really and it became something different. So I guess I'm telling this story because so much of songwriting and I guess the mystery that you were alluding to before comes from these really strange passages of association. So a music, I can't even tell you if I was influenced by a band. I mean, I could be passively influenced by War on Drugs. There's every chance of that. That happens all the time, you know, and I think that's also part of, you know, the wonderful kind of infectious nature of music. But an association to a sound, then a totally different association to a person I met 20 years ago in Cuba, not quite, 18 years ago, whatever it is, and then a word that turns into "Carry Your Scar," which becomes something very, very significant for me, based on the loss of my brother. So it's, you know, that one's it's a really mysterious song to me, and it's probably you know, quite unique sounding on the album because it's not all in that style of really driving guitar hooky, very sort of highway rock drums kind of thing, like the rest of it. But it does interest me because it's like there is that very, very dreamlike passage of songs that sort of follows you around, and they're very associative, and sometimes they're really direct, and sometimes in this case they sort of play around something that's a bit more unconscious, I think, and I'm very grateful for that. It's a fantastic companion to have, that mystery, you know, in your life, and to be able to look back on it and to see how words change, and to see how very loose affiliations of influences of music inform a story. You have no idea how it's going to end, sort of thing.
firstly love that story. I know that the album is dedicated to your late brother, and I very much appreciate you kind of telling us that story, because I imagine that you could have easily just told us, no, I'm not going to tell you. So I very much.
I don't feel like I need to hide that. In fact, I think that the dead travel with us, through music, in a very significant way, and then it's something that I intend on carrying, not always literally, but the I don't believe in shying away from that, because it's quite beautiful to me. Yeah.
I think it's a beautiful track, and again, I very much appreciate you going into depth about the origins of that song. I know that on the 29th of this month, in November, you will be launching the show at the Melbourne Recital Hall, but I was wondering whether later on, either in December or some point next year, you'll be taking this album on the road for other people to see throughout Australia.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. The concert at the Recital Centre is going to really involve a lot of the musicians who performed on the album, and it's going to be sort of near on. It'll be a beautiful, big band on stage, and that's something I'm really looking forward to. I love that room, and it'll be a chance to really go deep into performing this album as close to how we recorded it as possible. And then there'll be festivals after that, and various iterations. And I guess I, in line with what I was saying before, the songs I've written for the Cat Empire and the songs I've written for Spinifex Gum, and as a solo artist, they all go into the same world for me. So I look forward to a sort of a future of performing, and this album will be very these songs centric, I guess. But the in general of actually revisiting all songs from everywhere, and finding ways to do it. So it's something I'm looking forward to doing as a solo artist, is just to draw on. I've written quite a few songs now, and it's nice to sort of look back and go, oh, they can really be reinvented, or they can be revisited, or they can be brought to life in a different context. And yeah, that should be fun.
Of course. Well, I know there's a lot of people very excited to see you around the country. Felix, lastly, we would usually ask our guests what they're currently listening to, if there is anything on high rotation for yourself at the moment.
The Heartbreak High, the new Heartbreak High playlist has been getting in the mornings. That's my partner Eloise and our kids who've been enjoying that one. It's kind of this great mix of nostalgia and current pop stuff. So that's been fun. There's an album that just popped into my head. It's by Nana Mouskouri and Harry Belafonte from 1963 or something like that. It's like an evening with those two, and it's really interesting because it's got Harry Belafonte singing in Greek, and it's just very kind of very beautiful and evocative, and that's been nice to cook to. And Gree, Dr. John, has been a heavy favourite of mine when I've been cooking. Gree and the other album, Desertively Bonnaroo, I've been back on Dr. John lately, and that's a very happy place for me as well. They're three that come to mind. Yeah.
Extremely varied taste, but all incredible. Yeah, I love all three of them.
That's true. That's the story of me. I used to really pull my hair out about like, oh, who are you? Just decide, choose one style and be that sort of a. I was envious of musicians who are like, they're just a rock musician. That's what they do. That's where they stand. Or they're just a songwriter in that tradition, and that's what they do. And I went half crazy for, during my 20s and things like that, sort of thinking about some sort of identity crisis around that. But it might just come with age and caring less about what you think about yourself or what other people think about you. But there's something very liberating about having the Cat Empire, which is about as sort of diverse a band as you can, Spinifex Gum, my own stuff, all in the same world now, because it's very, very different. And I feel that there's this kind of a freedom to that. I'm excited by embracing many different styles and atmospheres in what I do.
I firstly respect that, and then secondly, I feel that yes, with age and with time as well, I feel like maybe 2 decades ago it was very much that you listen to one genre of music and that's you and your personality. And I feel like as the years have gone on, genres and classifications have kind of started to fade away, and it's just you enjoy what you enjoy, and if it makes you feel something, makes you do something, if it evokes something, then that's what it's doing its job. So
I couldn't agree. I really do. I mean, I think that when I grew up, there was very, very strong identity associations with what music you listened to, and that had great qualities about it, but it also had this quality that people would listen to the music they were expected to listen to. And I think that the generations coming through now, there's not that. I mean, just by virtue of digital streaming platforms and playlists and all those sorts of things, it's hopefully doing something just to spark, like you said, that genuine reaction that people have to music. And you'd be surprised at what sort of people, and case in point, a Can Empire crowd, for example, you get all sorts there. You get like your metalheads, you get you get sort of all genres, and I feel like we did a bit of that in that band, and it always brought me a lot of joy to look at and go like, who is this audience? Like they don't fit into anyone, and it's but there is something about that. I think music, you have to internally really, really listen to what you actually like without expectations around what you think you should be liking.
100%.
Not to do that. Yeah.
Exactly. Felix, thank you so much for your time today. I do appreciate it. Congratulations again on the brand new solo record from yourself. Every Day Amen is out this week. But thank you for coming onto the podcast.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. See you again.
And that's our show. A massive thank you to Felix Riebl for his time. Every Day Amen is out today, and we've left links in the show notes if you'd like to buy the record or purchase tickets to his Melbourne show. We also want to give a huge shout out to Shari, a Great Company Collective, for helping out with today's interview. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Wednesday and Friday morning, and we now have a Patreon, which you can find within the show notes of this episode. You can follow the Players profile on Spotify, and you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until next week, cheers.
Imagine the softest sheets you've ever felt. Now imagine them getting even softer over time. That's what you'll feel with Boll & Branch's best-selling signature sheets in 100% organic cotton. In a recent customer survey, 96% replied that Boll & Branch sheets get softer with every wash. Start getting your best night's sleep in sheets that get softer and softer for years to come. Try their sheets with a 30-night guarantee. Plus, get 15% off your first order at bollandbranch.com, code BUTTERY. Exclusions apply. See site for details.